Hello everyone and welcome to Hearts of Iron 4. I am Lord Forwind, here with what will be a Let's Play for at least a while. Playing as the Netherlands on the new Man the Guns expansion. So this was selected through a poll, so I'll just quick run through some of the new features and then we'll get started. So in terms of Dutch, they have Wilhelmina, Aloof Neutrality, Shell Shock Spectre of Great War, which is horrible, Construction Penalty from the Great Depression, and a weak government. So you'll notice we also have exiled governments, so if a country gets taken over, they can relocate to someone else's lands and keep fighting, which may happen to us if Germany kills us. We'll see. We also have, let's see, other new stuff. Doctrine trees, which you can, of course, research relatively normally. You can speed up using army experience. We're not going to care too much about it. I'm just going to run through some of the basic setup stuff as we go through them. Get better guns, get a doctrine going, and speed up future research. In terms of the Dutch, we have 3 different trees we can kind of progress down. We've got the Dutch, there we go. Wow. The Dutch East Indies tree that pretty much improves it. We're probably going to take this reasonably early on so we can permanently increase oil production at some point. This also down here, continue the war in Batavia, is if we get kicked out of the Netherlands itself and end up in Britain, we can actually relocate to Java and take them over, and then we can try and return, which would be kind of cool. If that happens, there's actually an achievement for that. Then we have the gold standard, which is kind of our military and economy. Pretty much tries to solve the Great Depression and develop the lowlands a bit further. There we have the inundation lines, which are going to be one of the key things we research. Gives us extra defense and allows us to flood certain provinces around Holland to survive any German attack. We'll try and survive it otherwise, but that is one of our first things we want to research. We also have War on Pacifism, which allows us to get rid of Shell Shock Spectre of Great War, which is awesome. And then these are your standard upgrade stuff, which we're by and large going to kind of ignore for a while. Some of these are going to be relatively useful if we get to it. We have a choice to build our own infantry and stuff or license everything. We'll say we want to, if we get into a war with Japan, we want this unsinkable aircraft carriers, which will allow us to turn all our islands in Indonesia into anti-aircraft batteries, which is cool. Standard fleet upgrade stuff, a little bit stronger now that fleets take more effort. And then we've got our standard doctrine trees, obviously fascist, communist, and democratic. With right here in the middle, it's not entirely clear, we have non-aligned or unaligned, which we're going to try and do. We want to put Wilhelmina, or however you say it, in charge. But it also has the ability to form the United Netherlands, which we will try and do as well. It's also got a lot of bonuses towards just like this stuff. 3 off-map military factories will mean even if we lose the Netherlands, will still be able to produce some weapons. So we're going to just start off with form new government because it will get rid of the spirit weak government, and we will have a new prime minister who's a little bit better than this guy who has negative stability, economy laws. He does reduce consumer goods, but we want to fix that anyway. We are going to start our line of forts along the German border, because we need to be able to survive a German advance without losing any territories for one of the achievements, which is gonna be hard. But if we can pull it off, all the better. We'll go to level 4 forts. Usually 3 is good, but it's Germany with tanks, so 4 is probably needed. I don't know where the actual flood lines are for the Netherlands or Holland. I'm going to assume it's like right here. So we'll find out once we can actually flood things. We'll take our dockyards, we'll put 1 on convoys, that way we can actually get supplies. Convoys have become more important in this game. coastal defense, and then we will do a submarine. We're going to grab all of our divisions, put them in charge of our good general, Godfried van Vorst Tatvorst, or Tatvorst. And we'll put that under Field Marshal, which is Isaac. I have no idea how to say that on him. Rangers or something. This guy is pretty good on defense. So, and we're going to assign that to the German border because they're our major threat. Military factories right now will pretty much all go to producing guns. I will set up production lines for the others. We don't really need towed anti-infantry. Annoyingly, we don't actually have any planes as the Netherlands. I looked earlier, we don't actually have any planes, which is really strange. So let's also do this. We're going to put a guy who specializes in Seawolf attack in charge of our fleet in Europe. We do have possessions abroad. We have a little bit here in the Caribbean. We have Suriname and Curacao. We also own other islands, but they don't count on this. And then we own Indonesia under the Dutch East Indies flag. Hopefully they will develop their own industry because they start off in your default tree, which is a little annoying. We can't interact with them, but we do happen to have a fleet out here. So we will put this guy in charge because he's a blockade runner, so maybe the fleet will survive a tiny bit longer. Luckily we do get oil, otherwise we won't be able to run our fleet, but we seem to gain a fair amount. We're one of the world's leading oil producers at this point in the game. And it's kind of where we're at right now. So let's kick off the game. So now that I've enforced the fact that they have to follow their historical focuses, everything should go well. You guys missed a wonderful first video of the other one where the British decided to decolonize, Japan went communist, America went fascist, and I don't know what Mexico ended up doing, but it was weird. Obviously, I didn't keep that video. So for our events and decisions, there's this whole trade war here between Germany and Britain we're going to be kicking off soon. Treaty of London, which exists, limits the amount of ships sizes you can build. If we get rid of it, we have to own Luxembourg and Belgium to do it. But obviously, the Treaty of London not only did that, I think it, maybe? I don't know. It's what it separated the Netherlands in north and south, but I think it also is limiting our shipbuilding. We can also nation build in the Dutch East Indies. For some reason I can't say that. But for now, we're just going to do what we can, build some defenses. Did you already build one? No. Okay, for some reason I'm only building 3 there. So that's going to take absolutely forever. So that's probably all we'll build for buildings really until the war starts. We'll see. I definitely want to get this guy in charge, even though the surrender limit's lower and war support is lower. We'll actually get political power income, which right now we don't have much. I don't know if we're going to start Gateway to Europe. We might, but I think a bigger priority needs to be getting some fort construction going. Plus this will give us some more military factories and civilian factories. All of which, if we're going to hope to survive Germany, are important. I'm going to give the order to build a infantry division. However, if you will look at our manpower pool, thanks to Shell Shock, survivor of the Great War, we have absolutely no manpower. Isn't it delightful? We're also volunteer-only army, so we want to switch away from civilian economy once we get this guy out of office because he makes it more expensive, and then It might actually be worth switching away from volunteer-only army first. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I've been kind of interested in how this expansion improves things. Mexico we'll have to keep an eye on because they have a very unique idea tree. Lots of political intrigue and different leader possibilities, backstabbing and stuff. However, they're going to do it historically, which will stabilize the country somewhat, but we may see another Mexican civil war there. I was playing as them the other day when the expansion came out, and I managed to cause the second Mexican Revolution. It was interesting, to say the least. It was a little dangerous. Surprisingly, we actually have a lot of build slots in the Netherlands. I guess it is a highly developed, highly populated country. Not as high of a population as I would have expected in some areas, but still really high. I mean, nothing hits the levels of Berlin, London, and Paris, but slightly less populated than Germany, but still populous nonetheless. Oh, I guess I already had built one. Oops. So the achievements for the Netherlands, I should go over that quickly. We have liberate the colonial Netherlands after relocating the government to the East Indies. So there's that one. There's putting the raid on Midway, ensure the UK has no capital ships. That could easily happen just with the Germans. Conquer Belgium and Luxembourg as the Netherlands, might pull that off. Treading the narrow path, don't cave to the Germans, continue building Zuiderzee works, and don't lose control of any of my states until 1945. The big issue is going to be controlling, however you say this, province. Maastricht. Controlling that's going to be very difficult. We also might be able to take leadership of the Allies, and if we were to fight Britain for some strange reason, sinking the British part of the fleet would help. So, new government has formed, slightly more stable, slightly less production going. I really am I'm curious about this. I really am. I don't know what it does. 10% production speed is pretty good though. Now we'll go obtain foreign colonial investments first, see what that does, and then we'll work our way back. So we have Dirk van Geer in charge. He's a defeatist, which isn't great, but now we could change our consumer goods laws, our civilian economy laws at some point. He's just slightly better to have in charge, even if he does, even if it did reduce the amount of consumer goods factories we have. The increased political power, pretty much another 6 per day, 0.6 per day is worth it. Okay, got to get this research speed going. 5% research speed plus 5 from exports plus another 5 from 2 techs make a difference in the long run. I don't remember when Germany attacks us, but we do have some time after the fall of Austria before we really have to worry about Germany. Czechoslovakia has to go first. So when that happens, that's when we really need to have a good defensive system in place. So I am curious as to how our oil production worldwide is. So all of our oil is produced in the Caribbean. Curacao. Probably saying that wrong because I don't know how to pronounce that second C. We're exporting 23 of it, and we need maximum consumption 36. So right now we could fully support our military if we had to. And sadly, we don't have any real iron production. What just happened? Game just froze. Oh, up Spanish War. Duh. That always freezes the game, the Spanish Civil War. A little bit frustrating, but that's the way it goes. I mean, not many countries have that size of a civil war. Russia, Germany, if that happens. Bit unexpected. Okay, I'm thinking our first thing should be trying to... well, let's see what advisors we have. We'll see. Anti-revolutionary might be good. Jacob, Adrian, De Wild. Colonial communist. Huh. Adventurous daredevil, Prince Bernhard. Interesting. This resistance banker would be very useful if we capitulate. Oof, why would you want to take that guy? His factory output, but ouch. Some of these penalties. We're going to, of course, not decolonize, because that would severely weaken us. So the other stuff is creating variants on our ships. So if we jump up here to this coastal defense ship, we have all these new slots we can fill in. But we do need, of course, Navy experience to do anything with that. So that won't be happening for a while, or probably really till a war. At least we start off with a large variety of ships, thanks to the Netherlands being a naval power. But I am really worried about the fact that we only have a handful of units. Wait a second, how are they able to influence us? I didn't think I had already started that tree. Huh. Oh, we'll have to go for that one. Second London Naval Treaty signed, trying to reduce the number of cruisers and submarines. Shouldn't be too bad for us because we're not focusing it, but still worth keeping an eye on it. It may be worth us building marines. If we're going to be fighting on lots of rivers, which with the Dutch we probably are, I'm going to throw in researching marines. I'd much rather have the marines trained and not really need them than not have them and wish I did. Because this area down here is plains. Do we actually have any marsh provinces? I'd have thought the Netherlands would have been much more marshy. All plains. There are, of course, a couple rivers there. Lake province in the Netherlands. Interesting. Ban fascism, ban communism. In terms of our government, we are heavily democratic, so I don't have to worry about any coups forming. It'd be rather strange if the Netherlands all of a sudden had a coup from the non-aligned parties. Or any of them, really. Okay, so the Americans, British, and Japanese might invest in our colonial development, which hopefully will help. And we are going to do gateway to Europe. As much as I didn't want to do this, I'm going to have to, because the Germans are already influencing my trade. Yeah. So once we get that, we definitely want to get that early on, I guess. So what we can do is we've now unlocked some decisions. Obtain foreign colonial investments. Foreign investors, consumer goods factories reduced by 5% for 90 days. Foreign industry construction speed increased by 15% for 90 days. Or attract West Indies oil companies. +1 building slot and decision factor after taking the decision 5 times. Adds 0.2 production of oil. Considering the Caribbean is a relatively safe spot for the Dutch historically, I'm going to activate that. And we are going to actually activate the West Indies as well. All of which would, I think, be safe to do. I don't want to invest any more. That was a lot of political power. I prefer to save the rest to change, I don't know, something. Well, I get a political advisor or two. We're going to have a relatively boring early game, but that's the way things go. Construction efforts, though, this is good. They are improving their lands. We shouldn't have to worry about their autonomy. Obviously they won't break free or anything. We do need to keep an eye on them though, just in case Japan wants them, which I think they will. Unfortunately, I don't think they improved China really at all, so they'll get annihilated. We'll see. Looks like this time around the nationalists are going to win, which usually they do with historical focuses. For some reason, the Republicans don't tend to actually take any of the good trees. That way they actually lose. We'll see. Weird things could happen. Germany's tanks could just be an absolute monster in combat and win. I sure hope the British do invest in my lands in Europe a bit. I'm going to poke around, at least between things happening, kind of look at the different changes to the trees. Limited rearmament. Huh. Shadow scheme. Okay, so that's slightly different. This is really different. General rearmament, chief of staff. Wow. Somewhat different. There's this whole tree here solely if you want to dissolve the British Empire. I don't really know why you'd want to, but you could. Cool, you can release Egypt, Kuwait, and all those. Okay, if you're communist, apparently you have to decolonize. And then other than that, they've got a lot of this stuff. Boosting training and other stuff. Interesting, issue gas max is no longer like a lock point. You can kick out Chamberlain. Okay, so they've got some interesting things they can do. And if you really want to go radical, you can be, first off, non-aligned here. You can stay with Edward the 8th and try and rebuild the British Empire into a real empire, including conquering the United States. You can, of course, become fascist. You can become communist. And you can also be independent communist from Soviets. So, we really do need some more command power. It is a pathetic command power gain, but it's shell-shocked from watching. Only the Navy still enjoys some prestige. Interesting. We got to get rid of that before we can actually build an army. This should give us enough political power to pick up Boy, this guy, anti-revolutionary, a little bit more stability, political power gain. Maybe pick up a military theorist. That way we have some army experience. We could do naval theory, but I don't think Navy's going to help us much. The Germans can outproduce our Navy massively, and the British should protect us from any naval invasions. We'll see. By the way, if anyone's played these guys to any degree and has advice, I'd be more than willing to listen. So we got this trade of war balance right now going between... Right now they're even between the British and Germans. And we're going to make it so that we can kind of balance it out if we want. We need apparently 50 influence points invested in us before we can maintain trade neutrality. Hopefully by going historical focus, we haven't forced ourselves to go with Britain. I sure hope we didn't. That's why initially when I did this video I didn't do historical focus locked in, because I was hoping that wouldn't be the problem, and then Britain decided to get rid of its empire in the first year of the game. It was awkward. Okay, we've got that done. That locks down that tree. Now we go for abandon the gold standard and work our way from there. So, so by placating them, I guess we can send them trade influence points and balance that out. Anyhow, that will be it for this first episode. I'll at least play this for a while, or if I stop doing this Let's Play, I'll try and finish in the stream, but I do want to break from Europa for a bit. And we have a couple I have a couple Dutch subscribers who are very interested in seeing this. So thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.